Gonna check my Facebook, see if we're live. You can never quite tell when you jump on through Zoom whether you're live or not. So we end up sitting here for a couple of minutes, twiddling our thumbs, just waiting to see if it's all working. Okay, it says we're live, and hopefully we are. So good morning. Good morning, beautiful people. It's early here. It's 7 o'clock. I've got out of bed. I have got the kids all happening with their dad inside. And apparently he's told me I can only be on here for half an hour because my partner's got to go to work. So I'm just going to check on here so that I can check questions. So this morning, I'm going to talk about my favorite subject, which is spiritual companioning. Spiritual companioning to me is everything. It's, oops, better turn that volume down. It's the medicine for everything. I spoke last week on 3 different topics, and the idea of this Facebook Live series is to support all of you personally to look at how we're addicted to fear, how we're addicted to our upper limit, how we're addicted to our self-sabotage, but also to give you the tools to support your clients, because I know a lot of you that follow me are also practitioners, your coaches, your healers, your psychics, light workers, kinesiologists. You're in the coaching practice to some extent to support yourself and others to raise their vibration, to heal, to transform their fear, to find more heaven in this world than hell. And in my 15 years as a drug and alcohol, in my experience, what I found to be the most potent form of transformation for myself and for my clients is the art of spiritual companioning. So if you've jumped on live, please let me know that you're here. Say hello in the chat box. Let me know where you're joining from. Where are you in the world? You know, there's people from America, from the UK. I do have quite an international audience, so I'd love to know where you're from. Probably it's evening at some part in the world as well. So just to recap briefly, the first 3 Facebook Lives that I've done last week, which I'm going to encourage you to go back and watch, because I'm going to speak about a lot of things today that I've referred to and I've explained in depth in the last 3 Facebook Lives. So the first one was on the upper limit and how we become addicted, and how the upper limit is actually more addictive than cocaine. So, you know, we produce stress hormones through our body. Every time we self-sabotage, every time we come up against an upper limit and we meet our fear, we're producing a whole lot of stress and cortisol and adrenaline in our body, and it's highly addictive. So we come up against it a lot. Not to say that upper limits are a bad thing. They're actually something to be celebrated. And I'm going to do a whole Facebook Live on that, why I celebrate my upper limits. You know, they're not something to run away from. They're not something to shy away from. But what they are actually the gateway, the doorway to show us where the work needs to be done in order to move through them. Because we meet one, we go, here's the door, here's the way through to the next level, rather than meet one, retract, meet one, retract, meet one, retract, which most people do. We want to meet one, we want to celebrate, we want to notice, we want to bring in our tools, our fear transformation tools, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow, EFT and tapping. And we're going to move through them, and then we're going to be at the next level of ascension. So upper limits are something to be celebrated, even though we're addicted to them. What we want to do is move through them rather than retract from them. Then I talked about the spiral of ascension, which is exactly that process. How do we move upwards rather than stay in this flat circular plane of meeting our upper limit and then retracting? We want to meet our upper limit and ascend through the tools of mindfulness, EFT tapping, and spiritual companioning. And then I talked about mindfulness. So on Thursday last week, we went deeply into mindfulness and how come mindfulness is the medicine for everything. Unless we notice our upper limits, unless you can support your clients to notice where the upper limit is, exactly where it is, and then celebrate it, and then make the decision and the choice to bring in the fear transformation tools rather than retract from them and stay in sabotage and procrastination and hiding and denial and stuffing them down with food and wine and alcohol and social media, unless we use those three tools, we can't move, we can't ascend, we can't move into the spiral of ascension. So today I want to talk about spiritual companioning as a modality itself and what it actually is. So I'm just checking any questions. Hello, beautiful Amy. Where are you? Are you in Bali? Are you over east? Let me know where you're zooming in from. Amy travels around the world. She's amazing. She teaches yoni massage. Oh my gosh, follow her, stalk her. Where are you from? Where are you, Amy? Hello, beautiful woman. So, spiritual companioning. Before I explain the definition of spiritual companioning, I want to explain the difference between three things. The difference between sympathy, empathy, and companioning. So sympathy, as most of you know, is when we feel sorry for someone, when we go, oh, you poor thing, that's terrible, oh my gosh. And what we do with sympathy is we validate the victimhood of our clients, of our friends, of our loved ones, of our children. And sympathy is a really disempowering form of connection with another. So empathy, like most of us like to talk about, we're all empaths, we like to be empathetic, and empathetic is one step up from sympathy, and it implies that we really understand how that person is feeling, how that, usually because we felt it before, and we're like, yeah, I really feel that, I really get that. The problem with empathy is that most of us are becoming more empathic. Most of us are, as we're raising our vibration, we're becoming more sensitive to those around us. We're realizing that all is one, but sometimes people can take on that vibration, or they can connect in a little bit too much. They can feel the energy of the others in the room. And empathy can be quite a draining emotion, a draining way to connect. Yeah. So companioning is then the next level to that. Spiritual companioning implies that we bring in our virtues of compassion and detachment. So compassion allows us to be empathetic, but it also allows us to have a certain level of detachment. I'm not taking this on. I feel for you. I genuinely feel in my heart how difficult this must be for you. But I'm not going to start taking on that emotion. I'm not going to start buying into it. I'm not going to start to drop my own boundaries because I feel like I need to rescue you because I'm such an empath. So what I can do is bring in my companioning, which implies I walk beside you. I'm neither ahead of you, I'm neither behind you, I'm not above you, I'm not below you. I walk beside you with compassion and detachment. I can still connect deeply and intimately with you, but detach from taking on, from buying into, from being directive, from saving you, from rescuing you. I can have a sense of detachment and compassion at the same time. And this is what companioning means. This is the next level. And in order to step into the space of spiritual companioning, we got to do some work. We've got to do some work on our own judgments, on our own desire to fix, on our own desire to rescue, on our own desire to play God and pretend and feel like or believe or think that we have the answers for the person sitting in front of us. So this is where detachment comes in. And just, hello, good morning, gorgeous Amy J. Dwyer. Hello, beautiful. Just checking if there's any questions. Let me know where you're calling in from, Amy. Where are you on the other side of the world? We've got two Amy's this morning. Where are you? Where are you calling from? So, and I just want to give a brief example and a little brief story. Hey, Brian, my partner's watching. Are you making sure I'm running on time? So, the good way to explain spiritual companioning is just to give you a really brief example. So I had a very dear, she's a friend. She was a really young girl from the place that I live, who I used to know a long time ago, who just called me up out of the blue. She'd moved to Melbourne. She found my number. She gave me a call. She rang up and she said, "Hey, Tam, how you going?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, great. How are you?" She said, "Oh, I'm not doing too well." And I said, "Oh, beautiful. What's going on?" And she says, "I'm starting to use drugs and I'm really scared." And I said, "Wow, so what sort of drugs are you using? What's going on?" And she says, "Well, in the day I'm using ice and in the evening I'm using heroin." And I said, yeah, that makes sense. You know, you've got the uppers and you've got the downers. You're probably using them to balance each other out. Yeah. And she's going, "Yeah, totally. I'm up and then I'm down. I'm up and I'm down." And I says, "Wow. So that sounds like a lot. You know, how much are you using?" She says, "Every day." I says, "Wow." I said, "Girl, those drugs are really expensive. How are you affording them? Like that must be really, really difficult." And she says, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, they are. So sex work, yeah. Sex work helps me afford it." And I'm like, "Wow, baby girl, are you safe? Are you safe in that environment? What's happening?" And instantly she just burst into tears. And she just cried and she cried and she cried. And the process of that non-judgmental space holding spiritual companioning was that 10 years ago in the world of drug and alcohol, I would have had huge judgment. I would have had, "Oh my God, she's using heroin, she's using crack, she's prostitution. Oh my God, I instantly need to call her parents. I've got to get her out of this environment. I've got to give her some motivational interviewing and tell her that she's not safe, and give her all these opportunities, or book her into rehab." Or I would have gone into instant desire to fix and panic and judgment. And in that moment, I would have lost her. I would have lost her belief, her rapport, her trust in me. So I went through the process of, and not much can shock me anymore. When people ring up and tell me things like that, it's not like, "Oh my God," it's like, "Yeah, right, I get it. Okay, yep." And then I go into this curiosity of like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder how this happened. I wonder what the steps were that have led her to such an unsafe environment, and to an environment where she's really desperately hurting herself through such a lack of self-worth and through such a lack of self-love." And so what I reflected back to her was, in this moment, 100% acceptance for where she is. Not that I necessarily agree with or think that it's a safe environment, but I accept what she's telling me and I let her know that. And I don't judge, I don't jump in to fix. I'm just asking her some questions so that she can feel free to answer, unload, be honest, feel as if she's being held, and feel as though she's not being judged. And at the end, I just said, "Baby girl, are you safe? What's happening in your world to create safety? Are you safe?" And in that moment, she burst into tears, and I reflected back to her exactly what she was unable to give herself: unconditional love, acceptance, and a holding of space. And that's why she reached out to me, because she knew that I wasn't going to judge her. And as soon as I can build that rapport with her, ask her questions, provide a safe container without judgment, then she's going to feel safe to unload. Then she's also going to connect into a part of herself that is lovable, because I am loving her in that moment. And in order for her to accept my support, my love, my space holding, she's going to have to find some inkling in herself that is lovable. And then our journey went from there. Yeah. Amy says, "I'm back home in Shoalwater." I don't even know where Shoalwater is. Such a special space to hold for someone. Yes. So this is the art of spiritual companioning, and I'm going to go into it a little bit more just to explain some of the breakdowns of what it actually means and how we can all learn this sacred art. So what we have to do first and foremost is, if we want to become a spiritual companioning practitioner or bring this into your own modality, it very much starts with our own work, with your own work. And judgment is the place where we start. Yeah. having a look at our own judgments, our own belief systems, our own ideas of what's right or wrong, because most of us play God in our lives, in our counseling sessions. We have this belief about what's right or wrong, and we have this belief about where the client should go. You know, not that most of you are going to be seeing clients with heroin addiction, drug addiction, and prostitution, but they are going to come with you with some problem, with some fear, with some self-sabotage, with some procrastination, with some need. And usually they'll come with a need for you to fix them. But what we want to do, and the most empowering way to support them, is to help them connect in with their own divine wisdom, reflect back to them that they are worthy and lovable through our own lack of judgment. Because when we're judging, they pick up on that. I'm wrong. I'm wrong to be in this situation, so I can't open up to this person. So what we need to do for ourselves is to get really damn honest with where our judgments are around, everything that your client could possibly bring to you, and in fact everything that your children could bring to you, your loved ones, your family, your partners. What is it that's unacceptable to you? And then we need to do the work there, because in every single tiny moment we're micro-judging ourselves and we're micro-judging those around us. Amy says near Rockhampton. Oh, Rockingham. Okay, that's near me, halfway between Perth and Mandurah, I think. Yeah, I know exactly where that is. So what we want to do is bring in our mindfulness when we notice the desire to rush in and judge, or notice the desire to rush in and fix, or notice the desire to go, I know what they should do. Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, hello, beautiful Kirsten. Let me know in the chat box, do you have that desire? Give me a hell yeah, because I still do, particularly with my kids. Yes, sometimes with my clients, but not so much anymore. I'm sitting in a genuine space of 100% curiosity. But let me know, do you have that desire to go, yes, I know what's wrong here and I know how to fix it? So the most disempowering thing that you can do for your clients is to try to do their own spiritual work, to try to direct the path that they are going on, and think that you know the spiritual journey that they should be doing and the path that they should be on. Because my beautiful friends who are here today, believe me, it is not yours to do. Someone else's spiritual journey is not ours to direct. And the decisions that they make are not ours to decide. So as soon as you have those thoughts that you should, you could, I think you should, we're jumping in, we're disempowering them. And it's interesting because I follow a lot of groups and I jump in and I notice the conversations, and I really notice when people are trying to, in their mind, they're trying to support, they're coming from a good space. But when people are asking questions and they jump in with the, well, you should do blah, 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 or I think blah, 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 blah is a really good option for you, or you need to blah, 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 blah. And instantly there's this contraction from the person receiving the information, because there's an implication that they don't know what they're doing, or there's an implication that that person knows best. And bang, there's a disconnection in your relationship to that person, to whomever you're trying to reach out to. You're taking their power away by giving them your answer. And believe me, it's your answer. It's the answer that you'll come up with based on your own belief systems, your own traumas, your own history, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and blah, 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 blah. This little thing comes out as your answer for them. Totally disempowering, totally implying that they don't know what the answer is. And spiritual companioning implies that you 100% believe that they have all of the answers within them already. And when you can sit in that wholly and solely, your relationship with your client is going to accelerate to the most potent degree. And they're going to want to come back for more. Yeah. So the analogy that I use is you're the introduction agency Yeah, what you want to do is hand them the red hot phone straight to God, straight to source, straight to their own divine wisdom. And then when they're on the phone, then when you've supported them to connect in with their own divine wisdom and supported them to come up with their own answers, this is where the medicine happens. This is how you can coach, support, guide, companion to the most potent degree. That's your job. That's our job, is to hand them the red hot phone, not to give them the answer. Because when you give them the answer, you imply that they don't have that connection to their own divine wisdom. You're the introduction agency. Client, meet your own divine wisdom. Your own divine wisdom, meet client. But guess what? In order for you to become the introduction agency, you've got to have a really good relationship with your own divine wisdom in order to introduce that to your client. So spiritual companioning is very, very much about your own internal work. So I'll speak at the end about the, just checking if there's any questions. Please jump on and hit me up with any questions, because this is big stuff. This is a really challenging way to think about how we support our clients. So I'll just give you a couple of questions. These are my top 2 favorite spiritual companioning questions, because instead of giving the answer, what we're going to do is we're going to ask a question. So if a client says to you, you ask them a question and they say, I don't know what the answer is. You know, so what do you think you could do in this situation? And then I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, if you did know, what might it be? And they're like, well, actually, blah, 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 blah. So instantly you had a person sitting in front of you who apparently doesn't know the answer. Of course they do. So when you reflect back to them, but if you did know, what might it be? You're implying that you believe that they have the answer. And instantly they will have an answer. There will always be an answer there, but doubt has kicked in. The doubt says, no, you don't know. You don't know. I don't know. And what we want to do is bust through that doubt and get to the core. And that simple question of saying, if you did know, what might it be, completely supports them to go into the answer. And then all of a sudden, blah, 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 all this stuff starts coming out and you're like, how interesting. I knew that you knew it. I knew that you knew the answer. And it was your answer, as compared to when they say, I don't know, what do you think I should do? And the spiritual companion in us would go, notice this desire to rush in and go, well, I think you should do A, B, and C. We mindfully notice that, the rush, the addiction to playing God, just rushing in, solving and rescuing. We notice, we take a breath, we sit back and we ask the question, if you did know, what might it be? So that interjection, that change in the course of your relationship and in your session will change your life. It'll change the life of your clients, because they'll learn to ask themselves that question, and you can support them to do that. As soon as they come up with, oh, I don't really know what to do here, you could support them to ask themselves that question. But if I did know, what would I do? Bang, they'll have the answer. Sometimes I've asked that question 5 times, because they might say, oh, I don't really know. And I'll be like, but if you did know, what might it be? And they're like, no, I really don't know. But if you did know, what might it be? But I don't know. But if you did, like if you really, really did know, what might it be? They're like, well, maybe it would be blah, blah. Bang, there it is. Keep going. Keep asking them, if you did know, what might it be? So another question that is a beautiful spiritual companioning question is just a tweak in language, because language is so very powerful. So when my client makes a statement about something, what most of us might say is, why did you do that? Why do you feel that way? And the word why implies a judgment. You know, when you go, why? Like there's this why, because that implies that I don't actually agree with you. Like, tell me why you did that, because that's quite weird or strange to me. So when we can tweak our language from the word why to how come? How come implies a sense of non-judgmental curiosity. Like, how come? I'm so interested to know. How come you ended up making that decision? Or how come you got to this point? Or how come that happened? As opposed to why? Why did that happen? And in that moment, your client, your loved one, your children, yourself even will feel that sense of curiosity and they're going to want to tell you more. But when we say why, there's this judgment, there's this disconnect, and there's this feeling of shame and guilt that might come up in the person and go, yeah, that probably was a really bad decision. So here we are again, noticing our judgment, noticing our desire to ask the question why. We're going to stop, use our mindfulness, take a breath, reframe, and come back with how come. Can you see the difference? Yeah. Hit me up with any questions. Let me know, like, is this making sense to you? Is it relevant? Is there any aha moments here? Is there anything that you could be taking away and using? And I'm going to invite you to use some of these techniques in your own coaching practices with your children, with your loved ones, and most importantly, with yourselves. So what we need to do is, just thought there was a question there. So what we need to do as practicing spiritual companion is know that we are simply the guide. We're becoming the guide. We want to first of all notice our own desire to direct, our own desire to play God, our own desire to come out with you should, you need to. As soon as we notice that, we need to take a big deep breath, come up with a question to support them to connect in with their own divine wisdom, and give them the 100% belief that we totally know that they have the answers within them. Imagine how much that would change your practice. Imagine how much that would change your life, your relationships, your connections, the lives of your children, how you raise your children, how you speak to your partners, how you hold space. Yeah. So first and foremost, like I mentioned before, we need to be able to be our own spiritual companioners in order to do this work. So this isn't just about going away and going, oh, now I'm going to become a companion. It's about connecting in with our own divine wisdom, to know that we have the answers, to connect us to the hotline to God in order to introduce it to someone else. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I don't want to leave these lives too long because I've covered a lot of information. If you're interested and you liked what I've had to say today, I would love for you to go back and watch the other 3 Facebook Lives from last week, because they are a build-up and a culmination to really deepen into the information that I've given you this morning. I also want to let you know that I am currently launching the next round of the Soul Connection Mentoring Program, which is a 6-month program diving deeply into the art of spiritual companioning. If you would like to increase your impact with your clients, if you would like your clients to deepen into much more profound transformations because of the work that you're doing with them, spiritual companioning will open up that world to the most magnificent degree. If you are directing, if you are giving advice, if you are telling your clients what to do, if you are using the words you need to, you should, there is a whole world of deepening connection that you can transform within yourselves and for your clients. This is the most potent way of connecting that I have come across in my entire life, not just my counseling experience, but my entire life. And this spiritual companioning modality can go across any of your modalities already: kinesiology, intuition, psychic readings, coaching, health coaching. It's the container for which you can hold space. The spiritual companioning mentorship program is personal development, spiritual development, professional development. So personal development, we're going to do the work on our own judgments. We're going to do the spiritual companioning on ourselves to connect more deeply with who we are, to overcome our own addictions to our own upper limits so that you can take your clients further. You can't take anyone further than where you're at. The professional development is giving you the modality in spiritual companioning. You get full qualifications in EFT. I teach you how to teach mindfulness to your clients. I teach you everything that I know in order to increase your professional skills and its spiritual development. We focus really, really deeply and intimately on your own connection to your own divine wisdom. I am here to spiritually companion you. Yeah. So it's a 6-month mentorship program designed to increase your confidence, your connection, your capabilities, your skills, your spiritual connection in order to take your clients further. You know, we're in a rising sea of healers and coaches at the moment. And if you want to stand out, if you want to be the best that you possibly can, this mentorship program will give you all of that and more. So I'm going to pop in the links below, a link to jump on and just have a free, no obligation 30-minute chat with me so that I can give you more information about the program to see whether this is a good fit for you. So I invite you to jump on, have a chat with me, and I'll also put some information in the comments below about the program and so that you can see some more details. But I'm going to be back on tomorrow. I'm just checking if there's any questions. And tomorrow we're going to talk about EFT and tapping. We're going to be tapping maniacs. We're going to talk about the fear transformation tools that you can use in your daily life, in your practice with yourself, with your loved ones. So it's been an honor and a joy to spend this morning with you all. I'm wishing you all a beautiful, beautiful day. And yeah, please reach out. Let's have a chat. Have a gorgeous day. Whoops. See ya.